because do you know what I think it is? I think if anything stays active for long enough, that it can keep pushing it back. Because the thing was that Mickey Mouse becomes a public domain in like the next year or so, but obviously because the way Disney works is, you know, they can stop that kind of stuff, because it's basically like it's meant to be like 100 years since something is created, that it's then out there of like, well, anyone can do it. It's like, you know, you have the Mummy, like the films with like the Mummy and Frankenstein and Dracula, they are public domain because it's not a single person or company or, you know, writer or actor or whatever that is limited to the rights of this kind of thing.
And it is basically people in the boardroom back at that time going, no, we won't let it through for 100 years, fuck it, let's just put 100 years on the dot. And then obviously as time's caught up, as lifetimes have passed and as life begins to grow again, one every minute, you know, obviously then they you know, their grandsons are looking at, oh shit, we got to renew the license.
Just like Big Finish.
Because we love
Big Finish, we love public domain. Maybe that should be their new catchphrase.
We love public domain.
Hello everyone, welcome to No Bar Podcast episode 214. I believe it's 14. I've not really looked.
This is the streak. I got it right last week, so it must be 14.
It must be.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Because we're consistent and a little bit of viewership on the up, so you know.
Oh yes, yes. Come on, people.
We're up by 0.4%.
Still
positive. It's a green arrow
it's a good
on
margin,
the app.
yes.
So for me,
yeah, absolutely.
For someone that hasn't fucking promoted this properly in months, welcome back, or for the first time,
welcome
to two white heterosexual men that talk about pop culture on the internet, because there isn't enough of that already. As always, that's Connor. I'm George.
Hi,
and
yes.
we're going to talk about some things. We've got some films have been seen, of varying degrees of quality, possibly. Yeah. I've caught up on a lot of streaming stuff, which I've been happy with because it's expanded my list at current to 19. I did 25 last year, so I still need to see, because I haven't had time yet. I still need to see Bullet Train.
And
Nope. And Beast is out on Friday, which that might take preference because I want to see Idris Elba beat the shit out of a lion.
Fucking lion.
Yep.
King of the Jungle.
You've seen Dragon Ball Z Superhero.
Dragon Ball Superhero, which I thought was a mistranslation or thought like a typo, but it's the Dragon Ball Super sub-series that continued after Z and then carried on. But
which is still on now, which I saw I watched some the other day and I was like, this, like, how did I
watch Dragon Ball?
Dragon Ball Z as a kid was my, like, I didn't necessarily like understand the whole thing, but I was kind of like, fucking Goku is a fucking G, but
capital G.
Yeah, that's how you spell it. And Dragon Ball Super was on, I don't know what channel it was on, but it was on the other day, and I was kind of like, oh, and then it was like the movie's in the thing now, so is that why it's back on? Like, that's kind of cool.
Public,
publicizing. Get it back in the public consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Promotion.
And so you saw that. I've caught up on a few streaming movies, which, you know, one of them very, very good.
I was looking at I was like, very, very poor. No, I mean, good, great.
Very, like, honestly, one of my favourite films this year.
Ever in your life?
In my life. If it was in my life, it's probably up there in terms of, like...
it's probably up.
Say in my life, there's probably...
Was this... Oh, no, it was Amazon.
There's probably a couple of times a year. There's probably a couple a year that you're like, that's an amazing movie.
That's a lifetime film.
So it's probably up in the echelons of the top, like, 30 or 40. It's... Because, we'll get into it. The future and the state of cinema, that's the thing.
That's an ongoing topic.
And we'll do some She-Hulk, because at present we've seen one episode. Because it's weird, because normally we'd seen the second one by now.
Yeah,
exactly. It's a Wednesday, but they're not doing the Obi-Wan thing of, like, we pushed it back to Friday, but then the next episode, all the other episodes will come out on the Wednesday.
We've got that on Disney Plus there as well. Talking off camera about highlights of
we've got various news and stuff to get into, which we will start with right now. In terms of just as a constant reminder, anyone going to the BFI screening of The Abominable Snowmen, please say hello.
Yeah, please. Because this is the
I
only time
need
you'll
to.
see us in live action.
It's the only time you'll see us ever.
Next time you see us on camera, we'll be anime.
We'll be dead.
Oh, just like the missing episodes.
Oh yes,
They're definitely missing.
taking a bit longer. But so I need to check because I'm 90% sure there's a strike.
Oh, wait, a BFI strike? A strike on
Like
what?
a strike on the tube. So
Oh,
because the way we go, so it might be a thing. Because I finished work because it was like I needed the day off, and they like originally it was like yeah, and then it was like no,
No,
and
you
then
can't,
it's like I'm doing a half day. So it might be a thing of maybe like I pick you up.
okay.
I
Yeah,
I get
sure.
changed to work. I pick you up, like we'll park at the train station, and then jump on the thing and just try and get there because it's obviously it starts at 12.
Okay.
And
Oh,
normally
the showing's at 12.
yeah, and normally
Oh,
normally
okay.
the journey takes about 45,
Five-
50 minutes, depending
On
on
the
if there's
train,
which
if
I'm
there's
gonna
strike, yeah.
I'll probably either after this or tomorrow because I'm like I'm on later on tomorrow, so I might because I'm doing some basic admin work in my life, so I might just check the trains then. But then who knows? Like knowing my luck, it will either not be a strike and then be a strike on the day, or it won't be,
Yeah, exactly.
or it was a strike and then it won't be, and then I'll just
It's one of those.
we'll either get there
you
super
can
early
judge,
or
yeah.
like just on time,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I'm fine for because no one can sit in our seats, so it's cool.
Good.
Yeah,
Piss off.
piss off, ghost.
Piss off, guys.
But what do we get? What do we get? We got a confirmation. Talking of streaming movies that we watched, we got a release date for Glass Onion, and a Knives Out mystery.
Glass with James McAvoy. Glass 2. Glass Onion.
The 23rd of December.
Yes, just before Christmas.
So, which will mean that what day is that? What day is that this
What
year?
day of the week? I feel like, is it a Wednesday?
That's a Friday.
It
So
is-
that will be.
oh.
Oh.
What was
So
it?
if we record, because obviously generally we record a couple around, so
Around
like,
that,
so
yeah,
we try and
period.
have December off as much as possible, and then come back
Yeah.
in New Year.
Hmm.
But maybe we. I don't know because I
what's
want to
the-
include it in like the films of the year, but it's.
Oh, absolutely. Especially
but
if it's
that's
very
them recorded on the
quality,
28th,
it's the
and
first
it's
one.
like, oh, I don't know. We shall see.
It might be Merry Christmas to you at home.
And we got a nice like the double picture on Instagram. Like when you scroll and it's like it's just another half of the picture, and it's
Yeah.
you know like it's a big dining table
Mm.
murder mystery, and you get a look at the characters that will reside within the Glass Onion.
That's one that's been advertised at cinema. We talk about murder mystery. With Sam Rockwell and
Sam
Saoirse
Rockwell, Help
Ronan.
I've Been Murdered.
No, it's something like see where
Seaman? I don't
see
know.
where they are, see where they are, and it is a murder's gone on in the public theatre, and it's like, oh, did you kill this person? Oh no, it wasn't me.
It was me.
It's a good cast, murder mystery. I can't think the exact title, but it reminds me of an indie-ish World War II post Knives Out type detective movie. But I keep seeing it advertised. I just can't remember the name of it. So hopefully, if the situation doesn't change, it'll be one to see. But I can't think of the exact title.
Hopefully,
I'll get the title.
it
and tell
shall
you.
be. But yeah, what was we saying? Yeah,
yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah, streaming movies.
I loved Knives Out.
Yeah.
One of my favourite films of that year. I think it was
if
in
not of
top
last
5.
decade, because I think it does stand out.
It does, yeah, especially against other things.
A
Like I
late
really
contender.
do, yeah,
Hmm.
I really do love it.
Yeah, it's
It's well written, it's well
my
directed,
lifetime.
it's
one of
well
those
acted.
It's up there in my lifetime. I think.
It's in the upper echelons of your life.
In my life. Yeah.
In my life,
My movie life.
in your movie life, we got a look at, we got the final trailer for Lord of the Rings, The Rings of
Oh, did we?
Power. It was on Amazon
Prime.
Prime because it was on, you know, because now we've got, I don't know if you've got it
I
as well,
haven't looked
but
at
it's
Prime
the
to be honest.
updated version that we said about a few weeks ago,
Oh, okay.
and at the top they have like the big Netflix style tiles of like the new stuff.
Okay. Cool.
And one of them was Rings of Power, and I was like, "There's no way that's out now." And it
No
was,
way.
but it's on there with like September 2nd. It
Yeah,
literally
early
says releases September 2nd at 2 a.m.
Get 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So that's
That's a Sunday. Is that Saturday night going into Sunday morning? So yeah, people don't go out Saturday the 1st September. Watch Lord of the Rings hungover.
it is. It will be Friday morning.
Oh, it's a Friday morning.
Friday next week.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
good.
cool. I look for the trailer. Still remains great. It still looks expensive as balls, but I think.
Would it be a grey man type thing of, oh look, we've put all this money in it, it's the most expensive thing, and then we were looking at it
Oh,
and
it's
be like,
expensive, but there's no substance. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, style a bit.
I don't know, because I think generally the thing with Amazon series in general is, and I know that, you know, a Lord of the Rings is different to a Jack Reacher slash, you know,
adaptation, yeah.
fucking Jack Ryan series kind of thing. Like, they're the
Yeah.
main things to sort of go off of. But I'd say that they, as much as there's been stuff that they clearly just throw money at, I think that they are also, like we say, a lot of these streaming services have learned of the Netflix model of, like, it isn't just this director, this amount of money, go. It's the story that it's in there and needs to be told. I think enough time has elapsed from our last trip to Middle Earth, which was 2014,
Right, yeah.
which was the release of The Last Hobbit. But
Yeah.
but speaking of which, they have finally got a Middle Earth 4K collection set, £179.
Ooh.
It's not,
Yeah.
you know, like how
Oh, okay.
when originally with the release of Game of Thrones complete series, and it was there was a
Yeah.
steelbook version, and then it was like a whole, oh, here's just the normal 4K version. It's like that, but it's in these really great big books, a bit
Oh,
a la,
okay.
in the same way of, I don't know if you saw the 50th James Bond one that was like the 50
Right,
years of
yeah.
Bond.
Oh.
A bit like that, but it's like two different ones, one for the Lord of the Rings, one for the Hobbit, and it's got obviously all the original extended features
And everything.
and versions,
yeah.
blah blah blah. The special features, I don't know what passes over and what's in full 4K or just
In
upscale.
Yeah.
But it was something I looked at and I was like, I've always wanted to have
Mordor
the
set,
the
yeah.
all Lord of the Rings thing, and because completionist sake, the kind of nerds and idiots that we are,
Yeah.
that we would kind of have to buy the Hobbit.
Yeah, like, I don't.
As much as I don't like it, and everything I got from the Hobbit was probably midway through Desolation of Smaug. Yeah.
Number 2, yeah.
Like
Number
after-
2's definitely.
But
I
after
think,
the stuff with the
favourite
spiders,
of
I was kind of like, yeah, this is all I ever wanted, really.
the three. Yeah.
But you
Then
know,
Doctor Strange as a talking dragon. Ooh, yes.
yeah. Oh, in my dreams and my nightmares. So I'm kind of like, oh, do I do that? Because it's cheaper than when the Skywalker Saga came out, because that was 200.
Right, yeah, that feels so long ago. But yeah.
So it's about 20-25 quid cheaper.
right.
It might be cheaper on Amazon, because obviously the first place I saw it was Zavi, and Zavi's normally a bit more markup,
Yeah.
but there's also a delivery charge.
There was a Middle Earth collection with all 6 of them in some sort of long
Should I
package.
search
but
for
I
it on
think
Amazon?
people dissed it for features and stuff, but hopefully this is going to be more of a comprehensive, this is everything included in one collection. Yes, this is the one you want to buy.
It says it, yeah, 100. Yeah, so it's still saying Middle. So this is it, Middle Earth, the Ultimate Collector's Edition, 4K Ultra
is that
HD.
the one Wait, yeah, that's the one that came out that did come out for a short while previously.
November the 7th.
I've seen
I've seen a
reviews.
boxy box.
Yeah, exactly.
box.
But I've seen that.
So then all of those ones come out of the big like booklet thingy ones.
Yeah. I definitely have seen that layout done before, and I think people did.
1,032 minutes.
A lot of minutes.
Lot of minutes, eh? Lot of minutes to watch a series about medieval stuff, and there's dragons in it, just like
The
House of the Dragon,
Yeah.
which I've not yet watched. Have you watched it?
You've not-
I don't.
What?
I don't have Sky, and I also don't
You
have Now
don't
TV,
Oh no. Well,
because
so,
I used to have Sky Atlantic, and that's
Mm.
my main thing was like, just don't get rid of Sky Atlantic until Game of Thrones is over.
I didn't watch it till Monday because I totally forgot it. I thought it was this weekend.
Yeah, because I remember a lot of the thingy posters for
Was the
here were
28th.
28th.
Yeah, but it was 21st somewhere, and
I
then
think it was on
out.
HBO Max
It
and
must have been
broadcast in America. So unless we've gone back to the old Game of Thrones season 1 thing of we'll put it on a week later, which is strange.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on it?
It's good to be back in Westeros.
100%.
Absolutely, yeah. No season 8 bullshit in there. Like it just feels fresh but different. I mean, all right. A la nudity. Go and see for yourself, folks. Especially you horny males. Go and see it for yourself, and you can decide for yourself whether it's Game of Thrones esque. But no, we're one episode in, so I won't bother pronouncing names and what I think about all the characters so far. But Matt Smith, he's got the genetic scale of a Targaryen. He just looks and suits the role, and
Because
he's
the one, like,
Mm.
as much as I was hurt by Game of Thrones, he's the one that was like, I'm interested to see him play in that world.
Back to me.
Yeah. Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
Yeah. No, he definitely is gonna be arguably the standout,
But is it
the
going to
morally grey character.
But is it going to be him being the Sean Bean? This is Matt Smith's in it. He's dead.
I really hope not.
Because
No,
the girl
he
who
can't.
plays, what's her name? Rigara
Say Rhaegar. It ain't Rhaegar. It's like fuck.
Rihanna Targaryen.
Rihanna.
She stands under her
Rhaegar.
umbrella. Ella, under my umbrella.
No, episode 1 had the younger versions of the characters, and then going into episode 2 is where they play the main. Because I think it's Ella d'Arcy.
Ella the asshole.
Ella d'Asshole. I know, fiction writer. That's not. No, what is her name? I'm totally butchering the actresses' names, but essentially it's the younger versions of the characters in episode 1, and I'm assuming by the way that it ends, without getting into spoilers, I think it will then be the adult sort of main versions of the characters going forward.
So it's kind of just a prequel episode in a prequel series.
It's prequelception a little bit, but I don't think there will be a big time.
So
I
yeah,
don't know. I can't see it. The kids will have to be. It'll be a probably like a.
So you see
story.
someone else playing young Matt Smith.
Matt Smith is Matt Smith because
The
he's
whole time.
older out of the main girls.
So they're doing the thing of he can convincingly kind of play late teens up until the character's in his 30s.
Yeah, right. Because the girls say are late kids going into I say puberty. They're like hitting the 12, 13 mark, and I'm assuming when events happen at the end of the first episode, the girls will gradually mature and age up and change body in the form of another actress.
A new body. At last.
And then Matt Smith will still be Matt Smith because I mean,
Unless Matt
he's
Smith is then
older
get
than them
recast as
anyway.
Peter Capaldi, that'd be ingenious.
That would... Eric Roberts. That's
Eric Roberts as who? Paddy Considine's fucking
yeah.
what do they fucking call him? Ward. I don't know. What was Podrick?
Squire.
Squire. That's the one.
Squire. Yeah.
What is he? Is he a ward?
Daemon, yeah, Matt Smith is Daemon Targaryen, and
Is he the Daemon from Deimos?
No, it's spelt that way as well. He's spelt Daemon Targaryen. He's a Daemon from Doctor Who in Game of Thrones.
Jesus.
He's a Daemon from Deimos.
So do you think
yes,
this is gonna, because I heard Matt Smith talking, like not in person but like on interviews, because it was at the premiere that they held in Leicester Square, which is crazy because fucking hell, why don't we just go to these things sometimes?
turn up. Let's
you just with a mic and just be like, no, we're part of this. We're part of this. Yeah, out of the way.
Daemon from Deimos.
Hello, Daemon. Deimos. And then he'll be like, who the fuck are you? But basically, yeah. So he was talking about how like it's important to give Game of Thrones fans like basically to appeal to like old and new fans. Basically, like here's everything you loved about Westeros and that world, but it's a completely different story. So you have to kind of make it feel different, but you need those familiarities in it, like the intrigue, the mystery, the backstabbiness, the action, the conflict. The love interest.
A lot more action in this first episode compared to the pilot.
And it's a different production team, as far as I think as far as I know.
In terms of visual style, it feels less. I say less colourful, but that doesn't make sense. But like, whereas episode 1, when you're in Essos with Daenerys and the brother arsehole character, Draco Malfoy with long hair, I can't remember his name. When you're in with those scenes, the tint and the colour was very sort of orangey. Then you're with the wall that was very sort of white and blue. Whereas this kind of has a more neutral, cool colour palette throughout the whole runtime.
Mm-hmm.
So, regardless of location, it does feel very samey and modern in that sense. There's less of a stylistic, oh, you're in Essos, so everything's got to be orange. Oh, you're in the woods, so everything's got to be fucking green. Like, there's less of a stylish aesthetic, which doesn't sound great, but it feels more natural. And I think even the quality, like Now TV is typically 1080p quality, so nowhere near 4K. But honestly, I think this will surpass 4K. It will look better than anything Game of Thrones has done. But that's just purely because of the time it was shot and probably the equipment that they're filming it with. It does look pretty sharp.
Viserys.
1080p image.
That's
Viserys,
brother,
yeah.
Viserys.
But not like the mad one that they refer to in the show, because he's like great granddad Viserys.
Yeah.
There's 2 Viserys, and he's the older one.
Yeah. Who's Paddy Considine?
Yeah, he's Viserys the First. He's King Viserys the First.
Aha.
Whereas Viserys the Second is the one that's mentioned.
And this
in
is
Game of Thrones.
300 years before.
171.
I thought it was 300.
the book that it's based on, George's book. What the George?
Is it the one? Is it the
bastard who
thing?
never
That,
writes
is it the book that's then also mentioned in Universe?
Fire and Blood. Fire and Blood.
Is it the book that's also mentioned in Universe? That's like the battle, like the Dance of the Dragons kind of thing, like where these two like the Targaryen dynasty like basically fell apart kind of thing.
I know, but he calls that is called the Song of Ice and Fire as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which is obviously the series that Game of Thrones is booked on, for those that didn't know. But no, this show is based on the second half of Fire and Blood,
Yeah.
which is basically the expanded Targaryen spin-off novel, which basically covered this show, and this is the second half of that book. But the book is 300 years before the show, whereas in the show, it literally says in text, it says like 171 years before the reign of the Mad King Aerys Targaryen and before the birth of like his great granddaughter Daenerys Targaryen. That's how it opens.
So which then would make it.
It is 171 or 2, something like that. To be specific, it does tell you.
So 100 before the reign, which would then make. It would then maybe be about 200 if you round up to the conception and the Robert's Rebellion, and then the birth of Daenerys is roughly like 18 years before the start of the show, kind of thing.
Right,
so possibly
absolutely,
there's like a little
yeah.
bit of leeway there. Okay.
Yes.
I did it wrong. I wasn't even in it.
Shame. No, so it literally does give you a very specific start date as to when it is, but the book, bearing in mind, is 300 and this is 170, so it isn't the whole book, it is the latter half. And it will, according to nerds that definitely know their Game of Thrones shit in and out and have read the books, it will cover the Targaryen sort of civil war that will then sort of divide the family, even more so.
Yeah, so is that the ultimate end game for this show?
But whether or not that's 1 or 2 season job, or whether that's another 3 or 4 or 5 seasons to go, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want it to be as long
cover
as Thrones,
that. Yeah,
I don't know how exactly it will pan out.
but I think there's also like Smith was saying about how this is a different family, this is a different group, so presumably a different production team in general. Because I know there was the one they filmed with what's her face that they basically paid like 10 million for the pilot and then scrapped the pilot. I don't remember which one it was. If you want to Google that quick, because I know there was a lot of spin-offs and they've said they want to spin off a la Star Wars style, but not just a thing to fill slate. They literally just want to, so it wouldn't be consistent of here's this show and here's that show. It would be a thing of this is what we want to do based off of how
we've completed 30 million plot. When was this set? Starring Naomi Watts was shut down.
That's the one. The Naomi Watts
one.
one.
House of the Dragon was greenlit.
Is it The Long Night?
Yeah, The Long Night.
So that was it was either the Formation of the White Walkers one, which was I think they canned because it was basically like this is the White Walkers are the main enemy. This is kind of just Game of Thrones, but a lot in the past.
Okay. And less of the
and less Jon Snow. Oh, it's perfect wait for Jon Snow to come back.
And
hello.
Less politics and more White Walkers being like, right, so the enemies are over there. Let's fucking kill them.
But with even less medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
And even more swords. Imagine that on the poster. Even less medicine. House of the Dragon. The Long Night.
But speaking of more swords, the throne has somehow got a lot more swords because it mirrors more in line what George R.R.'s concept of the original Iron Throne.
He's more involved in this show, I believe, because he was speaking in turn at via WSJ. That George R. R. Martin reiterated that he fought hard for at least 10 seasons of Thrones, saying, I think it needs to, originally I was saying it needs to be 10 seasons, maybe 12 or 13, but I lost that one.
12 or 13.
HBO also pushed for more seasons, but they obviously would because it was, a heavy moneymaker for them, one of the biggest shows on streaming and just on cable TV of all time.
Yeah, exactly, ever.
But the only ones who refused that were D&D.
Dickheads.
Dickhead. Which
Dungeons
I think is
and
interesting because, and obviously with the talks of they want to spin it out and have more stuff and have it be this kind of elaborate universe that has almost like a complete lore, which then, if it then came to here's a complete Westeros set of you watch House of the Dragon and all, maybe some other shows or whatever, and then have the bulk of Game of Thrones, and then you get your weird tacked on because George is involved in the Jon Snow show.
Right, yes.
Which
I forgot that was even happening, right.
Which is the only thing that I think's been announced about the world of Westeros where I kind of thought, that seems like an easy cash-in terms of... But I think if you're getting Kit Harington involved and on a producer level.
Right, so he can oversee whoever they eventually cast and give him the isms he needs to be, yeah.
So like he's going to be
Guide him.
involved in the story. He's going to be like obviously acting. Like he'll have some kind of say, a la like Margot Robbie getting involved with being in Birds of Prey as a producer and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It allows more thing of like, if I have complete oversight of it, you can kind of
Have
you know
him
affect
input.
the quality of it and have it like, this is how you are the definitive version of this character.
Yeah.
It will go
You're
how.
me. Do not fuck this shit up.
Yeah. But it will be him being able to play it the way he would play it,
Yeah.
and also tell the story, but have it exist still within that world. And that's the thing. And George's more involvement in that in House of the Dragon, it seems like it's almost his way to kind of make up for that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got nearly 8 seasons of
Jesus. Yeah.
this kind. I think like maybe a similar run, maybe slightly shorter,
Some
possibly
better-
slightly longer.
So
But in
better-
terms of
Better
consistency,
Call Saul-ish. Aim for like say 5 or 6. I don't think it needs 8. I can't.
I don't think it
see-
needs it, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was room for that and it happened and it naturally reached an end instead of like being sped
Yeah.
up, because he also
Yeah.
talked about how, you know, he was less involved in Game of Thrones in later seasons. He said apart from creating that world, he had very little to do once it caught up and overtook the books. Like, so
Yeah.
I think from season 6 onwards, because I don't think he wrote an episode for 7 or 8.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
he did write an episode
shows.
for 6.
Probably the good one with the battle.
Yeah, and also
I'm guessing.
like you said, like the ability for the books to be able to go off in a different direction from the show, because that's what the show did, because they were interpreting their end. They had a similar sort of like, here's the basic endpoint, here's how you get there, but he gets to do it a different way, which then makes it so that the books and the series, you know, there's a
Don't
reason
match
to
up.
read it as
Oh,
well as
absolutely,
watch
yeah,
it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Which I do, which I'm a fan of if he ever decides to finish the fucking thing.
Exactly. That's a whole other separate video.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like you said, it's been long enough. I'm excited to get into it. Whether
Pandemic aside, but yeah. That's
when
natural.
when I
Yeah.
can get onto it, I will. It might be a thing of maybe do I wait for the end and then get Now TV and sort of have a big
A
old binge
big
of season 1.
10-hour binge. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm excited for it to hopefully feel
I didn't-
different but fit the world.
I'm gonna do it weekly because I didn't watch Game of Thrones back in 2011, so I am gonna try and do the Westeros experience of waiting every week to see what
Mm.
word on the Iron Throne is and find out what all the.
Oh yeah,
gods-
like I'd love to do it. Like if I had Sky Atlantic, that's how I would do it.
like
but
keeping up the Kardashians or keeping up with the Thrones is like just I don't know.
not possibly.
Keeping up with the dragons.
But yeah, because I never watched Game of Thrones the first 2 seasons on broadcast.
Yeah. No.
So I completely I saw the adverts for season 1 and I was kind of like, oh, what the fuck is this? Sean Bean's in it. He's that guy that dies a lot. And,
It's Lord of the Rings, but
and
not Lord of the Rings.
yeah, that was the kind of vibe it was, and it was kind of like the show didn't sort of have the catch that it did when
Back
by the
then,
time it
yeah.
got to like season 3. So, and then I sort of caught the back into season 2 and some stuff that happened, and then it was that's when it used to be like, when the new season comes out is because it was like it was on every year. Like when the new season comes out is when last season's Blu-ray comes out.
Yeah.
So like once at college, like I bought seasons 1 and 2, took them home, watched them, and was like, oh, this I get it. I really like this. And then from season 3 onwards, I was every week on the
Yeah.
night it came out watching it, and it was it's something. It's something that I look for. Like I did love as a whole the Game of Thrones experience. I did love it.
Yeah.
I was let down by the quality and the waning nature and dwindlingness of the latter seasons.
Yeah.
As was everyone.
All good things come to an end, but all good things do gradually reach that peak
Yeah.
and then dwindle to some.
And I think I
degrees.
left it long enough because then in lockdown, like second lockdown, like I had the complete box set. Lara had never seen it, and we started off and we got through it, and she still swears it's one of the best things that we've watched.
Yeah. No. Good.
And
Okay.
she's at a point where she was like, oh, like, are we going to watch that? And I'm like, yeah, I'd like to watch House of the Dragon, as long as you're kind of like still up for going back and saying, well, she's like, yeah, it's it'll probably be different, but as long as like for her, like if it's similar enough for the stuff that she liked in Thrones, because I said to her, like, I don't remember saying it on here, like I was like, I have opinions on it. I don't think it ended particularly in the way it should have done.
Oh yeah, I think.
But
and
like, I
90%
kept
of the
all
whole
that
planet.
back so that she could just watch it, experience it,
Pure-
and then afterwards it was
yeah.
kind of like, and here's
She
the
can
things
enjoy
I
the
had,
discussion, yeah,
which
yeah.
she saw and sort of agreed with on some stuff, but at the end of the day was kind of a bit more, open
Like
to it
neutral,
because it was her first thing of it, and me rewatching it allowed me to enough time had
to
passed,
analyze it.
and I was able to, because it was like a year and a half since it had ended, so I was able to watch it in full for the first time in years, get that joy and the nostalgia and the euphoric wave of watching those earlier seasons, and then get to the end and kind of think, it's not as terrible as everyone made out, but it's such
It
a drop off.
definitely- Yeah, I did try to attempt it. Say during lockdown, maybe early last year, and I got up to series 3. I think it was just literally just before a certain wedding happens. That
Yes.
may involve a shade of red or 50 Shades of Red, and life got in the way, and I just hadn't done it since. But I feel like if I was to do it now, I'd have to go back and redo the whole show. But I totally, again, didn't have the universal catch that Game of Thrones did eventually have from season 3 onwards, I'd say. But season 1 and 2 are just it's Loki. The finale, the episode finale of Loki. It's all just one big conversation. Well, Game of Thrones, especially the first 3 seasons, is all conversations that affect the lore and the world and the
And
characters
everything.
and everything so much on every sort of 20 minutes in an episode. You're sort of like, I kind of like this character. Oh wait, he said this. Wait, he's done what? And it played with your mind every episode.
Yes.
There was no definitive like.
But
good
everything
guy,
in
bad
the
guy.
end, stuff was important from eons ago. That
Yeah,
it all
right.
kind of came back full circle in a semi-satisfactory way. Like there's bits and episodes I enjoy in seasons 7 and 8. Like there's stuff that I
Yeah.
like. I
Well, I
like them
remember,
going
yeah.
beyond the wall
Mm.
and that stuff. I do like the Battle of Winterfell,
Yeah, I did.
but I feel like that was kind of this feels like the end of the show, but we're having it halfway through, and obviously the shorter seasons don't help. But
No,
that's
no.
the thing, like that we've spoken, and many people have spoken about in general. So that's the thing. But much like a thing, is that we're getting a Ferris Bueller's Day Off spin-off film at
Ferris
Paramount.
Bueller's Day On.
Sam and Victor's Day Off,
Game on.
which will follow the same day adventure of the valets who took the Ferrari for a joyride.
All right.
Which begs the question: how much CGI are we using
True.
to make it was it the 80s?
86.
Yeah.
86.
Or are we casting actors that look semi like them and just allowing your brain to sort of dispossess it and be like
Like a
fill in the
stage
blanks.
adaptation,
Yeah.
like a theatre play, and go, right, this is
But that's a cool thing that was kind of like that's unexpected, because there seems to sort of be a lot of there was another sort of big thing of like a movie that maybe is a bit too late in terms of the New Line are discussing trying to develop a Doctor Evil movie, which feels very like it's 20 years too late.
I was gonna say Doctor Evil. I know the name, but what exact is that?
From
an
Austin
old-
Powers.
From Austin Powers.
Yes.
I've only seen the first
The
one.
the
yeah.
parody of Blofeld.
Right, yeah, I have seen
Scott,
the skits. Yeah,
How
I've
about
seen it.
you? You
I
crazy
did read
Dutch
about Austin
bastard.
Powers. Yeah.
So
Doctor Evil. I knew
looking
I
at
knew it.
developing one, because I know that an Austin Powers 4 has been like Mike Myers has been in favour of it for some time, and they were kind of in and out of developing it for a while, like up
It's
to
in
as late as
limbo,
like
yeah.
2014, something like that.
Oh, okay.
But I think the comedy in those movies is bad. Like it's not aged particularly well.
I've not particularly rushed to watch 2 and 3, but yeah.
But also because no, I think 2's the best one,
Right, okay.
because it sort of does the things the best, and then Goldmember's just like, and here's why
This
we
is
shouldn't
the end,
carry
yeah,
on.
This is,
Because that kind of comedy doesn't age well. It would not work if you made it now, especially to a lot of audiences that are already offended by a lot of things. A lot of that stuff you would either have to halfway house it and try and sort of meet in the middle, but then
Yeah.
that takes away from what made Austin Powers
Exactly, of course, 20.
relevant
2 decades
in
earlier,
the
yeah.
90s. So
yeah.
that's a thing that's kind of like do we need that? As in like these weird spin-off movies that we seem to be.
Is there a demand for it? Yeah, exactly.
I particularly I don't think there is,
No,
but
I agree.
that's just me. I am
I haven't watched the rest of them.
humble gentleman.
No demand from me, good sir.
So, shall we do? So, I try and do all the odd stuff before I do like the Disney stuff. But Jurassic World Dominion is getting a 14-minute extended cut
Oh, good God.
and will release on because Peacock is the streaming service for NBC.
Yes.
because the
Yeah.
peacock is the NBC symbol's the NBC symbol's a peacock. If you didn't know,
It is a peacock.
ABC's owned by Disney, NBC's not. But that will be on Peacock on September 2nd, along with the original version of Jurassic World Dominion. Which does that mean that version's going to be on physical media release? That's not been confirmed.
No, yeah.
That seems to be the only confirmation for streaming as of right now.
Right.
So,
Okay.
and keeping on the track of streaming services,
Streaming.
Warner Bros. Discovery is likely removing titles from HBO Max, as the removal of lesser watch programs will save money on paying out residuals, because basically you have to pay for a title to be on for however many long, and the revenue you make is from the renewals of memberships, blah 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 blah.
Right. Yeah,
because
yeah,
they've
yeah.
been taking a lot of things off.
Oh dear.
They've removed a lot of.
What have they? Without reading the whole list, what,
I don't remember, because there was tweets I'd seen that they would like remove stuff.
what the fuck? Why did you remove this? Yeah, like.
And it was like older seasons of some shows, and it's again comes back to the argument of curating your own history. Like you know, as I say, is a prime example of like doing it well is the Looney Tunes cartoons, a lot predominantly made 50s, 60s, 70s. You know, with much harsher racial stereotypes and undertones that would not fly today and were not really acceptable at the time. But it's bookended by Whoopi Goldberg saying, you know, like to camera before it starts, like, this film was made in this time, not saying this was okay, but like this was how it was made then. You kind of got to vote for them, but they're keeping it that way so that it's not like you're editing this to make you, because I don't remember who said the quote, but it's like you can't always pretend that you were better, you have to show that you are getting better.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
exactly. Yeah.
Because Whoopi Goldberg is a very smart woman and very intelligent and like a wonderful person, and she's very big on sort of the documenting of like
Where
black
we came
people
from,
in like how in TV and film how they have been able to be involved more. Like it's not just you know, like being butt in the jokes or racial stereotypes, like, you know, with Dumbo, like there's a warning before that in the stereotypes at the time, because you know, like the crows, like in the way they sing and are portrayed is of black racial stereotypes, but having the warning in front, you know, basically
Exactly, yeah.
sorry, like obviously like we're not the ones that made it, like when this was made this stuff was deemed to be okay. It obviously wasn't then, it isn't now, but this is the context in which to watch this film.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it shouldn't be a thing of like you like change it around. So it's like, no, we've always been very racially inclusive, because we know for a fact that the planet as a whole has not for the vast majority of its history, and in certain parts of the world still is very, very far away from that. So
nowhere near.
But on a lighter side of that HBO Max thing, is a lot of people have been adding on jokes. Like someone tweeted HBO Max removed the day my mum and dad first met, and then shared the gif of Marty disappearing in Back to the Future one.
Oh dear.
But stuff like that. So that's a nice little sort of like caveat to those seemingly shady things that big companies are doing, because you know they're not always your friend, they're out to make money.
Such is life.
Just like Jerry Bruckheimer, who is, I know this is like Disney, but like I just wanted to, because the National Treasure TV series is soon.
It's going ahead, isn't it?
Yes, it's on the coming. It's on the coming soon on the app. It's like the second thing after, like, I think it's before Andor. Like it's on there.
Oh bloody hell! Really?
Yeah, in terms of like the thing, because I think it was She-Hulk, then that, and then Andor and Pinocchio and Willow. Willow's just always on there, but it's at the back.
Since the app came out.
But a lot of people were led to believe, like, you know, does this mean there's not going to be a National Treasure today? Because the National Treasure 1 and 2 movies I really enjoyed as a kid. You know, then they're very B movies, but Nicolas Cage is great in them, and they're great for kids.
Yeah.
And it teaches
we
you a
are
lot
a bunch of big kids.
It teaches you a lot about history. It's very Indiana Jonesy for the early to mid 2000s. But when asked about it, because obviously the TV series is following predominantly different set of characters.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Fair enough.
And instead of following Ben Gates and his family, as played in the films by Nicolas Cage, but Jerry Bruckheimer, the producer of all of those movies and involved in the series, has said that they are working on a really good script for National Treasure 3 and will hopefully be sending it to Nicolas Cage shortly. So don't dismay, delays but not dismays. National Treasure 3, hopefully, guys, still happening. Yeah. Hopefully a little tiny victory for those who
Reminiscing about those good times.
who care about those kind of things, because those kind of movies are still important. Like, they're very B movies, but still, I like them. I like them a lot. Just like how, do you like the idea of Aubrey Plaza maybe being the next Lara Croft in a Tomb Raider movie?
I don't hate it.
Because what's her name?
Oh, Alicia Vikander.
Alicia Vikander is no longer attached because basically the contract is up,
Is up.
and it's
Public domain.
like she is not required to play her again if any movie goes forward, because it will seemingly be
She's terminated.
terminated. It will simply be a reboot or reimagining or restart to that franchise anyway.
Yes.
So, because I didn't hate the 2014 Tomb Raider film, I think it tried to draw a lot from those new.
2017.
Was it 2014 that film?
Vikander.
Yeah.
2018.
Was it 2018?
17 or 18. Yeah, it was later.
Do you know why I think it is? Because it was based off of those runner games from like 14.
Yeah.
So it's
It was
very
13, 14,
much
15. Yeah, those games.
It
yeah.
very much draws experience from those games.
Modern
and it's kind
games.
Of, yeah.
They're
So-
nearly a decade old. I mean, bloody hell. But yeah, I'm sure that's like 2017, 18. I'd say 19 at a late push, but my gut is saying 18. I think.
hmm
But yeah, I enjoyed that one.
I didn't enjoy it.
I did enjoy it. It's a shame we didn't get a follow-on to Alicia Vikander because I thought she was good in the role.
Maybe in Lara Croft in the Multiverse of Tombness, we get Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie, her and Aubrey Plaza team up to fight communism or something. I don't know.
PS1 Angelina Jolie, PlayStation 2.
Yeah,
Vikander.
basically how Patrick Stewart was the animated version just in real life. She's the video game version just with triangle tits.
Exactly. Yeah.
We should tell her the truth. And they trap the butler in the freezer.
Yes.
Maybe that's how they do it.
Oh dear.
The CW is seemingly
Charlie
circling
Wagner.
the drain, because obviously they
drain.
cancelled a lot of their shows.
Left, right, and centre. Yeah.
It's Nexstar has been confirmed to be acquiring 75% of the CW. Mike Pedowitz will remain as the CEO at this time, but also that sort of kind of links into the fact that I know it's done by the CW, but as like Mike pointed out to us, that it sort of was then thrown away. Lion made it's in another universe in terms of that world existing. That Jordan Elassus has left Superman and Lois after 2 seasons, and the role of Jonathan Kent will be recast, which obviously is one of Superman and Lois's kids.
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
Yeah, because of course he has kids. Jonathan was his adopted dad. I'm thinking Smallville,
yeah,
but I feel like Jonathan Kent is his dad.
Jonathan
in
Kent.
the
Jonathan
comics.
Kent is his adapted dad.
Adapted.
I've adapted to being your father.
Whether
Father.
you like it or not.
But so he was his
Adapted.
adopted father, obviously, because he
Yeah.
gets adopted by Jonathan and Martha Kent. Save
He
Martha.
updated the latest firmware. He's adapted.
And
He's adapted. He was Brainiac all along. He was an AI.
and he then has kids and names one of them after his adopted dad. Doesn't name the other one Jor-El though, so that's kind of a.
Jor-El Kent.
What's his other son called? Jonathan.
Connor.
Jonathan
Connor's
Connor.
Superboy. A version of Superboy.
Ah,
But it's Conner, not Connor, like how it's properly spelled. O-R. I'm sorry for people that spell it with the R.
Connor.
Conner Kent. I'm sorry.
Connor
Get
Kent.
your name changed.
And kind of can.
2 N's I can tolerate, but ER, Conner. Ugh. That's how I think about Connors with
Mhm.
ER.
There you go.
Get your
Connor's
name changed.
disdain for
Get your name changed.
Connors with ER.
Yeah, sorry.
Not people in ER. George Clooney.
Yeah. Unless he's called Connor, then you can go, fuck that guy out.
Possibly. Kenya Barris is being eyed up to direct a modernised
Nice.
remake of Wizard of Oz, which can
Okay.
I just collectively say, no, we don't need to keep doing this. But Hollywood is out of ideas, and it doesn't have any original ideas left, so
It doesn't.
it shall probably happen. Just like Simpsons Season 34 will include an episode about how they've managed to predict multiple future real-life events. So it's going to get really meta next season in The
dear.
Simpsons. I want to see what ones they include, what ones they don't include. The Trump stuff obviously has to sort of be in there as an allegory.
We gotta get back, homie. We gotta go back to the future.
Here's a thing. That's, so we'll do some Doctor Who stuff briefly.
Oh, very briefly.
Basically, there was some fan art posted on Instagram that has... So it's David Tennant in the 60th anniversary costume.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, a familiar face returns to Doctor Who in 2023.
Ooh.
Um,
Okay.
a rumor that is purely just rumor off of what I've seen, and there is no concrete evidence to back it up.
That's
that-
new to me.
That John Barrowman will be back as Captain Jack Harkness in some form to continue his transition into face of Bob.
Oh,
if
of course.
that is what this fan off is,
I was
what to
going to
go
say
off of.
he's from the episode of Marvel Zombies, but because they couldn't afford Paul Rudd, because they've already got another American in the form of Neil Patrick Harris, who
Who plays his character, as we learned in an interview the last couple of weeks, with a British accent.
So he's not
Toymaker.
the Toymaker? Or
Must
he
be the
is the
Toymaker. It must be the Toymaker.
Because the original actor, who I can't think, was, I'm assuming,
Michael Gove.
British, yeah.
Yeah, Alfred from Batman.
Oh, fuck off, is it?
Yeah, Michael Gove is the
Didn't
Celestial
know that.
Toymaker.
I don't know, my gut didn't know that. I didn't
Peter
know that.
Butterworth is the meddling monk. And he was in the Carry On
Yes.
films.
Right, yeah. Okay, I just didn't...
Yeah, Michael
so
Gove. Michael
Alfred
Gove
and
was
Toymaker were the-
Michael Gove was the Celestial Toymaker,
Oh, fuck,
who
yeah.
better known to our generation and
Yeah.
slightly before our generation
Way
as
before our generation.
Alfred Pennyworth in the.
The Tim
Burton Schumacher films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ones that probably everyone grew up from.
But the thing with
Oh.
this is, so the thing that maybe gives it some credit more than none is the fact
Yes.
that it was liked by Russell T Davies.
Oh dear, unless it's a shit, I should have put that idea in.
Fuck, I didn't think of this.
Yeah,
But
God
also,
damn
like
it.
you said before, we will not continue to harp on the John Barrowman train because, like we've said before, if he'd have come out and apologised the first time, he'd probably be back in Doctor Who by now and probably wouldn't
He
have
would have
been
been advertised.
rumouredly cut like he was from either Eve
Whatever
of the
special.
Dalek
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Flux or the
Mm,
Centenary, if that's anything to go by. Which news on the Centenary, I don't know if you've seen this, that
probably haven't.
apparently in order to celebrate the not
The 100.
the 100th anniversary of the BBC,
Yes.
because Doctor Who is one of their long-standing flagship programs, yada yada yada, is that previous Doctors will be referenced, possibly seen, more past companions, as you know, like some of them Reddit things we've seen before. Possibly, like maybe there's some classic Doctors. We're presumably going to see Jodie regenerate into Tennant, but also
Oh.
classic items of clothing are going to be worn by certain
I
characters,
I saw that.
companions, and possibly returning characters or companions. So sort of a big it's basically like pre-drinks for the 60th,
Right.
because it's a mini event, even it being 100th anniversary of the BBC.
But more than 8 minutes than Night of the Doctor for the 50th.
Possibly, maybe it's
more
like the
than
last 10 minutes.
It'll be
Maybe.
9. No. I
9
did
minutes,
kind of
12
see that
seconds.
floating around, but yeah, no. But it also could explain why we're getting Ace and Tegan back. Because if they're going to put more people in it,
I hope that Ace and Tegan are, if not mentioned, at least seen in the specials that are in the year.
yeah.
Maybe
yeah,
there's some
yeah.
hangover and you do Dimensions in Time, but not shit.
Of course.
Like
if
you
they
have
dare
it,
do it.
like you have a thing
Mm.
of like it's a mashup of, like you do stealing from a Big Finish box set, but then they get some credit for it because they do
Oh,
something that comes
yeah.
into Doctor Who.
It
Instead
is.
of like old Doctor's new enemies, you have new Doctor's old companions. Maybe you have Capaldi with Susan Foreman. You have
Big Finish are doing that idea. Next, I think it's September, October. David Tennant is meeting Nissa, Tegan, and Ace in a box set.
maybe
next month.
he'll meet them on behind the sofa. No, maybe he'll meet them in the specials. Like maybe if that's the thing, if we're gonna have like this is the kickstart of a year of just here's last
Mishmash.
time it was just basically this is where we came from when the show came back. This is where we're going, and sort of tipping our hat to the past and having Tom
Yes.
Baker be in it and it being brilliant
The
and a nice
curator,
little
yes.
surprise.
That's somehow Colin.
Maybe we just go fuck it. Here's everything all at
Everything.
once, but
Yeah,
less like
everything
crowded
everywhere all
and
at
yeah.
once. Mm.
Maybe you do it like
Into
that.
the Doctor Who universe of madness,
Possibly.
potentially.
But also that brings me on to the fact that we know he's filming, or we don't actually know he's filming because we know that Sex
We don't.
Education Season 4 is filming.
Cool.
We've seen new pictures of that with Ruby and Otis back together. Yes, I ship
Yeah.
it. I love it. Have them back together because I won't
Fucking
lie
do it.
I won't lie to you. I'm kind of done with it. I'm done with Maeve in terms of that whole story.
Oh,
Felt
yeah.
like it needed resolving, but where it got to in Season 3 felt like it was false. Like the fact
Like
that they had
how
to
we
get
discussed
Ruby out
Game
of the
of Thrones
picture.
right at the beginning of the episode. It just felt like, oh, we're doing this at the middle, but right at the end. And
We
yeah,
need to get Ruby and Otis away from each other. But if they get back together, and it's, I hope that then it's
they grow
he's
as a
yeah,
couple.
yeah, and
Mm.
that he's strong enough to not want
Realise.
Maeve when Maeve comes back, because they
Yeah.
can be friends and him just because Sex Education became less about the formulaic stuff that worked so well and grew in from season 1 into 2.
into two. Yeah.
And became a bit of a different thing, and a lot of the cast that we know aren't returning.
Oh,
like
no,
there's no
yeah.
Ola,
but I
there's
thought
no
Ruby was one of them that got.
no her friend
or-
Olivia.
Oh, of course. So Ruby was always fine. I just pictured Ruby and Juan and Olivia were gone. Like all three of them were gone. But okay.
No, I like
was
Ruby.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ruby to stay.
But
Vote Ruby.
Shoot Gat was first season of Doctor Who will reportedly begin filming this November. Which
Ooh.
BBC, if you need a couple of runners,
yes,
you know,
put our names in the fucking TARDIS hat across all the
yeah.
universes.
I mean, it's.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not hard, but we would love to. Like, we would give our lives
contribute, yeah.
to just be runners and work our way up, and eventually be John Nathan
Fix
Turner.
it.
Oh,
Oh, VJNT, yeah. Fix it and get the animations out. That's what we would do.
that would be Connor's first order of business. But
Check
if you
the
know, that's the thing. Like, if you're doing open applications, I know that like Mr. TARDIS talked about. Like, he's, you know, if you need a relatively experienced third AD. Like on the last few productions he's worked on, and I was like, and I'll make the tea. Like I would honestly, I would drive it. I would work in the props department. I would shine the shoes of Shooty Gatwa himself, the Shooty shoes, if you will. But yeah, in November. So
and then Shooty
because we don't actually know, because we've not seen any confirmation or denial that Shooty Gatwa is in season 4. Because we've seen no set
season 4, it's 14.
Season 4 of Sex Education. Like we've
Oh,
seen no
fuck,
set
what have we got
photos.
to do?
We've seen no behind the scenes stuff from him.
Yeah, of course, yes, yeah.
So we don't know that yet. But
Oh, well, fingers crossed.
fingers bloody crossed. There's going back to HBO. There's a comedy series, The Franchise, about making a superhero film.
The franchise.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So basically, going to be a pastiche on the genre kind of thing, but sort of.
Yeah.
The pilot is set to be directed by Sam Mendes, with Armando Iannucci set to executive produce and co-write, which I love. Those two things. I love Armando Iannucci, and his writing is fantastic. And Sam Mendes is a director. Yeah, the series follows a crew trapped inside the dysfunctional, joyous hellscape of a superhero movie-making franchise, which to me, fly on the wall, bit comedy, but also, if what's that show that Bill Hader's in?
Not, I'll say Community.
No, what's that one that he's in recently, and it's about basically being an actor kind of thing.
Fuck.
Because if it's anything to go by in terms of it being like that, it will be terribly
Terrible.
realistic in terms of the genre and how
What, is it
actually
still-
making movies.
Still ongoing?
I think it is. I know it had a season 2.
Oh, fucking career.
You should have just gone on filmography.
Oh, it was there. That's what I was looking for. TV.
Television. Barry. That's the
Oh,
one.
Barry. Barry Allen, the fastest man alive.
I'm the fastest. Yeah. So if it's anything like that has been for the industry, it would be just a nice way to sort of have a harsh look at those kind of things.
Man from Cleveland who travels to Los Angeles to kill someone, but finds himself joining an acting class taught by Gene Cousineau,
Which
Henry
is
Winkler.
Henry Winkler, and when Henry Winkler talks about his audition process, and it's apparently like anyone that's, you know, an actor or an aspiring actor that's gone to those kind of auditions, it's painfully realistic.
Right.
And a lot of people have been like, I've not been able to finish watching it because it just reminds me of bad experiences like that I've had in
Yeah.
auditions, and it's like, oh, that kind of thing.
Well, that does kind of stand out now. It got renewed for an 8-episode full season in May, so it's going strong,
Maybe it's a thing that you might get into
potentially.
in the next few weeks. Just
Seems to be
like
every
how
bloody day.
we will presumably be getting more D23 Expo, which is September the 9th, 10th and 11th, 2022, which we are expected to know more about the cast and director of Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts. We'll actually know what's happening with the Wonder Man series. We'll know what's happening with the project that's related to Nova. We'll get more on the Halloween special. Presumably confirmation on Shang-Chi 2, Deadpool 3. If Armor Wars is actually coming out, and much
Exactly.
more things, because we had Disney Plus Day. What was coming out was announced because Disney Plus Day, September the 8th, it launched in America, which is then every year now on both sides of the Atlantic.
Yes.
We get more stuff
Across
added,
the pond. Yeah.
and Disney Plus Day looks to be a bit shit or sparse this year because the main draw, I think, for people is we're getting the Disney Plus release of Thor: Love and Thunder,
Woohoo!
which is, I think it's got an IMAX enhanced version as well,
Way, good,
which
good.
I wouldn't watch.
I hadn't
because
seen it in IMAX.
I saw it in IMAX, not that great because it had, you know how Shang-Chi's, when you watch it on
Forever
Disney Plus,
changing
it's on the whole time.
Still.
It's changing aspect ratios in Thor a lot of the time.
And that peeves you off.
Basically just for the action scenes, and it's like how, you know, like how Christopher Nolan films do it, like every other scene. It's like that, but like there's bigger gaps. But it's just kind of like it doesn't need to be an IMAX showing because there's barely enough to qualify it for an IMAX.
Something you should have seen in IMAX, which again we covered. Nope, because that was pure IMAX.
When I get round to seeing it, I will hopefully, if the cinemas are still open, I'll hopefully see it in
Yes.
IMAX. But we got that. We're getting the assembled making of Thor: Love and Thunder as well. And the other main draw really is Pinocchio, the live action remake starring Tom Hanks, which was later on in the year.
Yeah,
and
it was.
I think it was late October, and now it's September the 8th. But more stuff. It does do the thing where it says "and more," so I think more stuff will be announced in the run up to it, and maybe there'll be some surprises. And obviously,
Deadpool,
we'll get
a holiday special, the bridge to Deadpool 3.
If they did,
Just random
if they
shit
put
like
if they
that.
put in Once Upon a Deadpool, I'd watch it.
Yeah, because we never saw it. Oh, I didn't, but yeah, I haven't seen it.
From the wraparound bits I've seen, that it's quite good in terms of how they do it, and it's weird to see it in a PG-13 framing format. But yeah, there'll probably be some more stuff announced because obviously D3 is coming up as well. Investor Day is November.
Yeah, always
sometime in November.
Yeah, always November.
So we'll learn some more stuff about the goings on, the ins and outs at Disney, and Marvel, Lucasfilm. As making of Obi-Wan documentary.
When I saw, before I clicked on your post because at work and the Wi-Fi is fucking terrible at work, but I saw Obi-Wan: A Heroes Jedi's Return, and I thought,
is that second season?
Is this season 2?
That's what I thought.
I was
Then at the top it's like a behind-the-scenes documentary.
I
on the
was like,
making
oh, okay. I don't know. I did.
But that's cool
think
because
season
this
2
isn't getting lumped in with the. I don't know whether it's because it's a different production team, because it's the first Star Wars one that Filoni and Favreau are not involved in.
It's not part of the Filoniverse or whatever they're doing. Yeah.
Because obviously it's set in a specific timeline, but there's room for it to expand, and Deborah Chow did a fabulous job. So let's hope that if there is a good story to tell, that we do get a second season. But it'll be nice to see Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor talk about those kind of things and the return.
And that
maybe we'll see some old footage of them.
And they will be doing the talking when the heroes return.
Yeah.
Back on Disney Plus. Yeah.
So I can't wait for that documentary because it's not being lumped in with the Inside the Disney studio thing that they did for Mando and
Light and
Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, and
Light and Magic's a separate thing. Have you watched any of that yet?
Not just yet.
I'm
I've
4
sort of stayed
episodes
away
in.
from the documentary stuff just because I haven't had time. But I'll probably watch
Very
one
good.
tonight.
I think watch the first one and it'll because I'm at the point now, so they've done a lot of the things of like this is how we worked with the Star Wars, and then coming back to do Empire and stuff like that. And they're obviously saying that like ILM was set up predominantly to be a visual effects house for George Lucas's films, but obviously between him writing like Star Wars films or whatever, the company's still got to get used because he's still got to make money. So then obviously he would loan it out to his friends. So it's like they talk about their work on E.T. and other such things that they used, and then it gets onto like Raiders and things like that. But then it's now on the point where like in the first time it was used as a visual effects company for like not like a friend, like allowing friends to use it, like just an outside thing of we're using this company, and it's helping ILM to actually become a legitimate business. Was on Star Trek 2, Wrath of Khan.
Oh.
So there's bits of that. So I'm on that bit where it's expanding because the whole thing of ILM, like in the intro, like it shows in the like pre-title sequence that it basically shows all the films they've worked on from being first founded for Star Wars up until like there's stuff for the Harry Potter films and Marvel things and all that stuff. So it's really interesting. I still swear by that documentary. So.
You randomly mentioned Star Trek. It's coming. Well, the first motion picture has been back in Cineworld for the last few days, but Wrath of Khan is
next
couple weeks time, I think.
Yeah,
but it's
I've
on
seen
for a
that.
few nights. But I don't know Star Trek. I've only done a couple episodes of the original series, but I just feel like just to see it on the big screen, just to say that I've seen Star Trek 2, even though I know I'm not from 1985 when it came out.
Yeah, because the Star Trek films only came about because Star Wars was popular. And it's like, well, we've got a franchise
Do the same
dwindling
thing.
for a bit. Let's bring them back.
I mean, I don't
upscale
care.
it.
I mean, I'm not Star Trek enthusiast.
Star Trek
but
2 is good.
Just to say I've seen it on the big screen, I would go and see it.
The general rule of the classic Star Trek films is every even one is good, every odd one is bad, but the exception of that was Star Trek 2009, which I believe was the 11th.
Yeah. Which
And
I liked.
the preceding Nemesis before it was bad, so that
You're
a lot of that
disgusting,
considered the curse broken, but then you had Darkness was a bit kind of naff when you think
'Cause
about
that
it.
is Wrath of Khan, but just
Wrath
done
of Khan
again.
done again, but it's
Yeah.
a new timeline, so they can get away with it. And
Yeah.
Star Trek Beyond, I will go to bat for because that's a really good Star Trek movie.
Maybe that'll be the next.
And it felt like in the trailers that like, we're just trying to make it like Guardians of the Galaxy, but it works in the context of it, and I really do like.
Okay. maybe in a year's time, maybe in the next 12 months, that will be the next only sort of nerdy franchise I haven't really delved into.
They have
fully.
they have a box set of all of
They do.
the films.
Because they had the Blu-ray set for years of the 10 movies, but then now you had the 4 motion pictures of the original Star Trek movies in 4K. Now they've got 1 to 6 because the other 4 are Next Generation, aren't they?
Yeah, so 1 to
Movies.
6, and like because Undiscovered Country, and then you've got
Oh fuck!
What have you-
Nemesis, Resurrection, Insurrection, and Nemesis. I don't know what they were called. I don't know what they were
Star
called.
Trek Nemesis, Insurrection, Resurrection, and
Equinox.
there's
Something
some
random,
ridiculous
yeah.
yeah, something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely something to like. They're on film for a lot. They end up
Regardless
here and there.
of the series, the movies are just kind of their own story. You don't need
There-
to know
you
stuff.
you probably get more out of it if you've watched
Watched certain-
every episode
yeah.
of the series, because obviously Khan was played by the same actor that played him in an episode in the original series when he's in Wrath of
See,
Khan.
I thought Khan was just a movie character that then became great.
He's
I don't know.
he's one of the few iconic
Things
characters and guest stars in the original series. So obviously when they needed a
that
villain
then
like
blew
Khan,
up with the
then,
movie. Yeah,
like that
yeah.
was a thing of like, well, we don't have to introduce someone new. It's like if you've seen, you get the basic gist of it from what we do with the story and the exposition in
the
this.
series.
But
yeah.
if you've watched the series, you kind of know who he is.
Oh,
But
okay, fair enough,
it's
fair
a
enough.
slightly tweaked version of him anyway.
Oh, okay.
He's different to how he was in the show. But and then you
Oh.
get the reprieve of like the fact that the series link into each other. The films are like the sort of like the big bombastic finale kind of. It's how it's played off of, like in terms of their like the specials of the show, especially the original run, because I think the Next Generation like happens between each movie as well, kind of thing. And also you have the
Okay.
payoff of Kirk and the original team meeting Picard and that team in the first Next Gen movie.
Oh,
And
okay,
the
they
last
cross
Next
over.
Gen movie has
Tom Hardy
a very young Tom Hardy as the villain.
as the villain,
And he's
he
quite
just
good.
He looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, yeah.
Oh, absolutely ridiculous, but he does it
Yeah.
well.
Oh, fair
And
enough.
the Kelvin timeline is, it's okay. If they do that film where they were going to bring back Hemsworth, like as Chris Pine's dad, that would-
George Kirk. Yeah.
yeah, because that's the point of differentiation in that timeline is that Kirk's father dies, because he's alive the whole time, and he's a reason why he's sort of pushed into Starfleet in the original version.
Okay.
But him dying is sort of him, just
It's the
like it's
nexus
him
point.
trying to live up to his legacy kind of thing, and sort of
Oh,
do his
okay.
father
Justice.
proud. I believe, but
Oh, okay.
they're
Oh.
okay. Beyond is vastly fucking better than everyone thinks it is, and it's not the reason it's not happening. It's Paramount being bricks.
Idiots. Mm.
But whether a Star Trek film happens is neither here nor there, because what will happen is I'll
Star
save some.
Wars
I'll
at
save
level
some of these
one.
older things for like next week, because I'm just clearing the new things. So in terms of the talking about Disney and stuff like that,
Mhm.
Marvel Studios has reportedly started allocating CGI work more fairly and in more logical ways among VFX studios and artists, following claims of poor working conditions in the industry by
Okay.
professionals.
So they
So
listen
that's-
to us.
Yes, they listen to this.
They
It's a
listen to
start.
us.
I know it's one big company, because they've been told that we've heard from various VFX artists that they're one of the worst companies to work for in terms of the volume of the work, the deadline, and the quality they want. It's not, as I say, they always say there's 3 ways to have something, and you can only ever have them 2.
Too. Yeah.
It's you either have it fast, you have it done well, or you have it done cheap.
Never all 3.
Fast and cheap doesn't necessarily look good.
Mm-hmm.
Like fast and well will take more money, and if you want something done well and something done
Cheap.
like cheap, it will take longer.
It will take longer.
Mm.
But it might pay off, because you might look and go, oh, it looks like
Has a lot
shit,
more
but
time.
it actually doesn't. It isn't shit.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's a start. I know it's one company, and hopefully across
The industry.
the
they
industry as
all
a whole, we start
reflect.
recognising, not just in mainstream like studios, but hopefully across the board.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there will probably be a VFX artist strike upon the horizon. Because to basically, I think, I like Taika Waititi, but that interview I think he did for Esquire or whatever, when he's sort of looking at Korg like, does this
He
look
did
real?
kind of throw a bit of shade. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
and I don't know
definitely
whether
didn't do
he's-
himself a favour.
I don't know whether that's scripted as like a
It's
funny
him,
bit, or
yeah.
him being pushed in to sort of say that by people behind the camera, or if that is just him. But that's a kind of shitty move when you're a person that earns millions of dollars from your movies. And yes, Thor: Love and Thunder is probably not as good as Thor: Ragnarok.
No. No,
And
I don't think it is.
It's not a bad Marvel movie, and it's not a
No,
bad Taika
no
Waititi
way by
movie.
any
It's of a
means,
lower
yeah.
standard, I think, to the rest of his filmmaking. And I think it's kind of dropped down my list a little bit, but I don't hate it. But you've
Yeah,
kind of
fair
got
enough.
to sort of hold yourself accountable because you're part of this big machine.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
fair enough. No.
Speaking of the big machine,
The big machine.
so a big machine lost some data because.
Oh dear.
So this comes from Batgirl director Bilal Fallah. If I said that wrong, I do apologise.
Yeah.
So he tried to, when he learnt about the film being canned, he tried to salvage like some of the footage off the server. He
They,
went, I went,
would not let him, wouldn't they? All. I think I've read this headline today, but yeah. Anyway.
let me just answer this. Okay. Well, then it cancelled. I went on the server. Everything was gone. We were like,
Yeah.
fuck, shit. Like, we didn't even get to keep the scenes with Batman in it, and that was via Script FR. So that's kind of shitty that they've kind of just canned the whole thing in terms of they've
Wiped
obviously
it.
spent
It
money
never
on
happened.
millions on the production, design, costumes, sound design, editing in some
Everything.
cases, the
Yeah.
actors,
Yeah.
the locations.
Just deleted off a server, not kept on the cloud.
Because I maintain if
Gone.
you'd have done a sort of maybe direct to streaming version of it, it probably would have been okay.
Yeah, of course, nowhere near what they would have wanted it to be in terms of income
And I think,
revenue.
yeah,
but
and like
it's better than having a
it's-
job as opposed to none.
It says a lot to shit on that film, and like it's not in terms of the quality they want to put out. But then you're letting someone like Ezra Miller continue to be the Flash, even though
Exactly.
he's just, oh, it turns out
Sends
like
the wrong fucking message.
all,
Yeah.
all they have said in terms of their statement is that they have basically like mental health issues kind of thing, and like sorry for their actions that they took, but basically they are still going to play the Flash. I think I've
Whether
got
you
the
like
thing
it or
somewhere.
not. Yeah. Sends the wrong message as a company, as a brand.
Where is it? Ezra Miller's apologised to anyone that has either alarmed or upset in my past behaviour. Having gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and begun to seek ongoing treatment. But that
changed-
does not stop them from the actions they've done. And
Change that headline to Infinite Crisis, then that would be a shitty pun. But
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, it sounds like he's like, yeah, I'm not
They.
preventing him or saying...
that's their point. Like, see, we are human. We make
Fuck.
mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. But don't worry, YouTube. Do not delete this mistake. Do not keep the...
Because listen, Connor's
Yeah.
learning. We are learning.
I learn every day. But no, what was I going to say? Yeah, apart from the shitty pun, if it was Infinite Crisis, all right, the guy is going through a crisis every day. Every
The
living
person,
article.
they are non-binary.
Fuck's sake! Look, they are going through a crisis.
There you go.
Of
It's
epic,
all right.
Of epic multiversal proportions. Except, spoiler alert: this is planet Earth. We only have one life, one universe, as far as we're all aware of. There's only one planet, and you're not.
And
the
it's
Flash, mate.
Gallifrey.
You're not
Oh.
the Flash. So stop putting yourself through crisis because you're not doing yourself any favors, Ezra. Like you're not. As much as we, as
And the
much
fact
as
that they're
Warner
still
Bros.
going to
will
release
make
this
you the
movie,
Flash.
and they're still going to, because they've apparently reportedly weighed up. Do they just can it? Do they focus it less on Ezra Miller, which is pretty hard when you've got two Ezra Millers version of the Flash from seemingly different universes or different timelines at the very least,
Yeah, exactly.
and focus it more on Batman. It sucks that both DC films with Michael Keaton are either not happening or are going to be
danger.
vastly fucking different or in danger at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Because nothing seems to be safe under the Warner Brothers HBO Max machine at the minute.
No, they are doing a lot of things to delete.
Delete.
Um.
And not upgrading.
So we should briefly touch on cinemas in general, just because we've
Yeah.
seen some films this week. Reportedly,
For the last time.
Cineworld cinemas are close to reportedly filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
They are the second largest cinema chain in the world because it's the same cinema chain. There's a cinema chain in America, the same person that owns both. Because
Yeah.
it's basically how,
Let's find out.
like AMC and View are the same in terms
are
of
they, actually?
something like that. It's
Yeah,
View
AMC
and someone else. Are
Regal.
it might be Regal. I don't know. Is Regal Odeon? Regal might be Odeon. I don't know. Because there's
Cineworld.
you
Let's
know.
just search Cineworld because that's the one that matters. Shots fired.
yeah, because obviously we have Cineworld Unlimited cards.
yes. But are
Uh,
they unlimited for much longer now?
yeah. So basically, which would suck because a lot of cinemas will close, and I think this brings me to a point of the cinema experience as a whole needs to change because from when I was a kid to now, like the cinema experience hasn't really progressed. I think you see it more if you go to. I don't know if you've been to Odeon Lux.
No, I've not.
Like the one in Denver, like slightly more expensive. You've got the reclining seats. Everything's clean. Everything's crisp. They've still got Tango Ice Blast, so that's the main reason to go there.
Yeah.
But also, it kind of makes it an event again, because I know the cinema was a luxury to a lot of families in, from the conception of the cinema and going to see films in general. Like, it was seen as something akin to going to the theatre, but you shouldn't. But it was like, you don't have to pay theatre prices to kind of see this value of production, and that carried on more into like the 70s, 80s, 90s, especially with like me growing up. That was my main thing. That's what got me into film. Is like, I remember very vividly in the early 2000s, like all the posters for the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter films that were up year on year, and seeing most of those in the cinema and things like that, and being captivated by films and stories and escapism. And there's only so much that you can get from that while watching it on a TV in your front room.
Of course, yeah.
I know
I'm definitely realising that as I'm getting older.
I know, like, films in the end become that.
Yeah,
That's what it is. But also, like, it's nice to experience that. Like moments, like when we went to see Endgame at midnight.
Exactly.
There's not a lot of time because, like, over here, I don't know if you guys listen to this know this, like, if you're from like somewhere else, but us over here don't generally whoop and cheer when a movie happens as much as America, which is kind of the thing that, in terms of like the bigger films, I've kind of like always wished we'd had, like
that
that,
atmosphere.
because even when we do, it's kind of like even like laughs, like in a comedy, it's kind of like, okay, back to listening to, like, silence, so I don't miss it, kind of thing.
Fuck, who the fuck?
Or even like
laughed?
the clapping, like like we had that with Endgame, we had it with Spider-Man No Way Home, and it was nice to experience that in terms of, we are just a bunch of people that have all come to see this movie together.
Sharing the event
to it together, and we are all sort of sharing our own experience.
Pre-pandemic, there was an advert at the cinemas that had like Robert Downey Jr. Can't think for the life of me the actors, but when they said, "Oh, we all come to cinema to share moments with an audience and come together," kind of like
that was like just after they reopened, like cinema had that advert kind of thing, didn't they?
Yeah,
and
it was essentially what they say,
which is true. And it is true. Like, the cinema experience needs to still be there in some capacity. I think, like with most things, the cinemas are done in by the fact that there's not enough people going to the cinema because the prices are too high, and the prices are too high because not enough people are going there. It's a never-ending thing.
Initiative,
the reason why we have unlimited cards is because it works out cheaper for us, especially, like, I know less for me at the moment because I've not been. I think I just about managed to use my card twice a month. I've not used it yet this month, so it kind of seems like a waste.
The free, because if you haven't been, it's the month of rewards. Have you not had any rewards?
I've not been yet this month. I want to go before September starts.
But
yeah. Like, I have, like, before when I first got my card, was because I'd seen Endgame like twice, 3 times at the cinema. It's kind of like if like other future Marvel films, I'm going to see more than once, and
exactly, it's just
the whole thing of, especially when we first got it, it was $17.99 a month. There was no ban system. It was just go anywhere you want, and
do it,
if you see 2 films a month, you're making your money back, which I try and aim to do as much as I can. Obviously, it's a bit harder at the moment because work, child, etc. Once work hopefully changes hands, that maybe gives me a bit more space. I know, like, your free time at the weekend is mainly at the weekend, or if you fancy it after work, so that kind of allows you to sort of be semi-routine with it.
Exactly.
Because before it would just be a kind of like an impulse thing of like, I'd sit on this night, but you're kind of you can see maybe a couple at the weekend, or like 1 or 2 in the week.
Wanted to,
so you're getting more than your money's worth, because a standard ticket in some, depending, like, say if you go to Stevenage for like James Bond, it's like $11.90 sometimes.
I think it ranges an extra £1 depending on the film and rating. I think all of it goes into
which is wrong.
It is
in
wrong.
general. Like, if you went to see Lightyear and it's your other half and you've got 2 kids, you're looking like a family ticket. Or if you got like a bunch of you that are going, like, that's maybe like a 5 or 6 of you, like, you're looking at £60 to £80 just for the tickets in some higher end
then
films.
You have to add food on top of it, which again, depending on whether you've got the unlimited card or not, is still pricey in
which
itself.
Is the markup, because they mark up the food, because they make more money on food than the tickets, because the studios basically pay them to have it in there for that amount of time, but the studios obviously get a percentage of the box office of the tickets sold.
Yes, absolutely,
and basically there's less and less people going just out of terms of there's less people that can afford to just buy tickets. So like with us when we would see like maybe like the Meg or we'd see like this or that, like you've seen Bullet Train, you've seen Nope, you wouldn't would you
XYZ
like
film, yeah.
would you have like you've seen Nope twice and one of them in IMAX, would you have paid £35 to see it those two times?
No, I mean, but not just to have a jab at that personal film, but like just across
A lot of
the
films
board.
you wouldn't, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think like we said this before, we've got into more films and been able to be more sort of across the board on not just specific genre stuff, because
with
you
the
have a
five
thing of
genres.
like, yeah, I'm paying, but also like I'm
Mm.
not paying out just for a ticket, so I don't mind seeing like
one that doesn't exactly live up to quality.
like I didn't have to
Yeah.
pay for a ticket to Morbius, like it was already just because
Exactly.
I saw it. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm not adverse to see, like I wouldn't be adverse to seeing something like Moonfall, which wasn't predominantly great, but it would have been a fun experience because
it
it's
would
just
have been. It still was.
you're just going in to book it and that money's already coming off.
Yes.
So if you're seeing more than two, you're basically sort
Doing a
of
month's
cheating the
worth.
system, kind of, if you think about it,
Yeah.
because you're getting a lot of films for a lot less, and you get the discounts. I like the card because it gives you discounts on the food. Like if you go over a year, then it gives you more discount, which I
Yeah,
like.
it's 10% to 25. Yeah.
And and that works the same with the screenings, because I think
does.
3D was discounted,
Mm-hmm.
and then so was IMAX and 4DX, and then it became 3D became part of just involved in the card, and then IMAX was slightly more reduced and 4DX slightly more even, because
I feel
it
like
works out.
3D was free, but I think you still had to pay £1 for the glasses if you didn't have.
Yeah, you
them.
still have to pay for the
Yeah.
glasses,
Yeah.
which makes sense. But
It does.
like 4DX, like some basic movies for that, £20 a ticket.
Exactly. Right.
Like,
even
that's-
going over.
That's
I feel,
80 near £100 if you got a day out of your family to see a movie in 4DX.
That might not
And
even
then
been
gl-
that good.
And then
Yeah,
glasses as well, and then drinks on top of that. So you're looking at over 100, nearly like coming close to like possibly 200, depending on how much you spend in the food and drinks. So having that, I think, as an incentive has worked and able to get more, because stuff like that I'm up for. And like you said, if this unfortunately does happen and Cineworld does close,
Yeah. Mhm.
then the immediate thing would be to, well, I would do an Odeon Limitless,
Yeah.
because I still love films that much that as long as I'm paying to see it and can see it as often as I try to,
Yeah, of course.
then
Yeah.
but the thing is, Odeon Lux is like, there's the one in Enfield that's been around for as long as I can remember, that is a lot pricier because it is a Lux. There's less Odeons around this side of the country.
It's
There's
Enfield and Hatfield for us.
yeah,
They're the
there's
two.
more up
Yeah.
north, and that's the thing. Whereas Cineworld down here is more
Down here. Yeah.
like, unless
I feel-
you're going Leicester Square to watch it, but then the amount you're paying on travel, you might as well just
Yeah,
watch it at home or pay for a video on
rental.
demand service kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the cinema experience needs to stay, because it's what, to quote Yoda, it binds us and surrounds us and sort of kind of draws us together, really.
But then to think about the future, as cheesy as it all sounds, you could say it in whatever format and whatever discussion we're talking about, but it will inspire audience members to come. It will inspire everyone
like I saw
to come.
at the Odeon in Leicester Square in 2009. I saw the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol
Okay, yeah.
in
that's
IMAX.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Massive screen, like it's amazing, and that was like, that's a spectacle, but that's not something you do all the time.
No, that was an event.
But like those kind of things, to see a film like that you love and to fall in love with a film on the big screen, and then you watch it at home, and obviously it's never going to be the same, but you own it, and a lot of your
Memories.
experience in the
Mm.
cinema can determine how much you like or dislike a film.
Yeah.
Like you might have to
absolutely.
rewatch a certain film because kids were talking, like if you had a bad experience and like kids were talking all the way through, or like things broke down, or you didn't really sort of enjoy it because of like the day you
yeah.
had before going into it or something like that. Or if you like,
Your
if
mates.
a cinema finds you
Yeah.
on the perfect day, at the perfect time, with the perfect crowd, like that experience we had with Avengers Endgame, I think is one of the best experiences I've had as a collective in the cinema.
Of course. If off my life,
And
yeah.
and a close second would have to be No Way Home, because it just wasn't as big
No, it wasn't.
in terms of like, it was in terms of like the reaction to Daredevil, Toby and
I do-
Andrew and stuff like that.
And I do think part of the initial reaction gossip to that particular film was, I can
Ruining surprise
accept
as well,
it
yeah.
if it's not up to par, but the fact that it was, and it was the way that it was told.
Yes, and
made
a lot of it being spoiled on social media as well, and to that
Idiots.
extent,
Yeah.
that affecting later films like Doctor Strange and that. But
Yes. Yeah.
you, like, your derivative and original experience can, like, original experience can derive a lot of emotion and feelings and sort of like amorosity that you feel towards the film.
Of course.
It can take it
But
both
spread
ways.
that with everything in
Yeah.
life. It
Like,
doesn't
I
have to
didn't
just be films.
particularly like Doctor Strange isn't a bad movie, as an
No.
example. I had a pretty good time with it. I didn't have a great time with it the first time. It was kind of
No.
just, it felt like it was a bit short, and there was, like we said, about 20 minutes missing. And obviously, the camp, like, you get swept up in the hype of, like, this was, like, it's going to have everyone in it and things like that.
Yeah.
But then going into it the second time, knowing what to expect, and then the 4DX enhancing it, made me have a really great time with that movie, and probably has taken it as my favourite MCU film at the moment this year.
This year. No, that's fair. That's fair.
Like, I would have loved to see some of the films I've seen on streaming, like
On age.
the bad ones. Maybe I wouldn't have gone. Like, I'm glad that I didn't have to waste my time going to the cinema. But other stuff is like, I would have loved to see this on the big screen, to see how this would have sort of immersed me, because stuff at home, like, you get phone calls, you get texts, you
Of
don't
course.
have to worry about not being on your phone. You don't have it completely dark. You're sometimes watching it like in your front room.
You have dinners.
Curtains
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
Like, you've got, friends, partners, brothers, sisters, cousins,
Food.
children, kind of thing. Like, everything,
Yeah,
all of life
everything
is
at once.
happening around it.
Of course, yeah, and you can't escape it.
Yeah,
at
and you
home.
can't just sort of zone out. Whereas in the cinema, it forces you to
switch off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just escape to this world just for a bit,
Yeah.
and then when you come out, you have your debrief, and then you get back on with your life.
Exactly.
And the
Switch
cinema
on.
experience must stay, in my opinion.
It has to.
But
It's
the
my
cinema
life.
owners and holders have to take better care of their cinema screens, because I know the new one in Harlow is probably the best one I go to in terms of quality and cleanliness. And even though that's been open a while,
It has been.
thankfully that's not diminished in terms of there's not a lot of damage. There's not really much damaged stuff in there in terms
No.
of, like, maybe like in the toilets or the facilities, or like, actually the seats and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
yeah,
all of
yeah,
that's
yeah.
still in very good nick. I know, like, at the Odeon Lux in Enfield, when it was a Cineworld, that was, chewing gum and sticky carpets and broken seats, and, like,
Oh,
there was
dear.
broken air conditioning in the older, the Queensgate Harlow one.
Yeah, there was.
Like, there was a lot
yeah.
more of that, and a bit more, had a very sort of run-down feel to it. But then I think, getting the membership thing and having to sort of think, we've got to compete with video on demand, and
Yeah.
with the 45-day turnaround, a lot of people looking at it and going, I'll just wait till that comes on Disney Plus, Amazon, or Netflix, kind of thing. They're kind of doing
They are
that,
doing
or
that.
when it comes on
The,
Blu-ray.
the world has done that. Yeah. Yeah.
And instead of collectively pay like 40, 50 quid for a group of tickets, you pay £25 for the 4K or the Blu-ray or whatever, and
Just
watch
wait.
it at home. Yeah.
Just wait.
So the prices need to come down. Investment needs to be made in, like, across the board in all of them, because as much as it's like, it's good that the big wigs are sort of feeling the effects of this kind of thing, the hundreds and thousands of people that this is their livelihood, this is their jobs, this is what gets them into film, this probably grants them access to, like, certain things, like if they they get first access to seeing films when they come in, because I think the staff get to see it, like, before before it goes on, or like have the thing of they're working, so they basically watch it as they're working, kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And that can lead to certain events, like if you end up being maybe invited to, like, the Leicester Square ones, or like the premieres of certain things, or your one holds a certain premiere of, like, a kids film that not a lot of people are going to see, and some TV person. It sort of it's more than just
It's
money
a
and
monopoly-
numbers and
it's
seats.
a monopoly effect.
Oh,
It
it's
will-
a
it will
monopoly effect.
Everything. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
hard-working people that working in customer service and retail in general, as we know, is
Hospitality.
hard work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And having that as an industry, like, it would seem easy, but there's a lot of hard work that goes into that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
those people that work those kind of shifts to earn not very good
Not
money,
very much. Yeah.
they deserve to, still be recognised and still be in a job.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Jeez.
yeah, that was the thing. That was cinema.
2022.
Yes.
Mm.
But speaking on that, you briefly talked to us about Dragon Ball Superhero, which you saw in Cineworld, and
Super.
if you can support it in any way, please do support your local cinemas as well as chains, because, like, the Everyman cinemas and stuff like that,
because it does feel like the films coming out have got very limited releases. It feels.
they feel a bit short. Yeah, but then stuff like Top Gun's sort of withstood
But
that.
even like when I
because-
say limited release, I mean like even showings per day and stuff. It feels like
yeah, like
whereas-
newer stuff is like maybe down a bit, but then maybe
Unless
that's just
it's
to
like
availability,
proper
because
stuff.
we know that stuff like Disney is like, we want Star Wars Force Awakens in no less than this many screenings on this time, so
that's probably an
they like
effect,
try and buy
yeah.
it out to make more money, which then drives, like, stuff like Last Night in Soho would be seen in less screens at less times, because it's not as much of a banker for the cinema and the studio itself.
No, exactly. It's too many freaking factors to think of.
But you got to see a limited, basically,
yeah,
it's a limited
feel-
run.
It does
of
feel very limited.
Dragon Ball Super.
The 21st film in the Dragon Ball universe, and in my mind, I thought this was going to be the end of it all. But oh boy, it doesn't feel like the end. It doesn't necessarily set up a sequel, but there's a lot of. I'm not an anime nerd. I've not watched Dragon Ball. I've watched maybe a bit of the very first episode of the original Dragon Ball manga when I was young, and I've played maybe 2 matches on one of the many Xbox games. I think it was Dragon Ball Xenoverse and an Xbox sale, because they have the sales way too much, and I was bored, and I was like, oh look, it's the anime that everyone talks about, let's just have a look at it, and I haven't touched it since. So other than that, me and my friend were bored, and it was just a case of, oh look, with the recent news, we might as well go whilst it's still open. Oh, let's just check out the cartoon. But oh wait, this cartoon is in 4DX, where the chairs rumble, it's immersive, and oh my god, cartoons, epic fights, swerving cameras, and God knows what, over the top Japanese stuff. I thought, let's go big or go home, and let's go it in 4DX. And I don't think I've still quite recovered. It genuinely, as far as a 4DX experience, I'll go on about that afterwards, but it completely changed my life. And not just for the 4DX, but the actual exposure to Japanese anime, I guess, and animation, because this film, 21 films in, has a distinct... It isn't fully 3D, but it's the first to use 3D animation, and I know that experts on the subject have sort of had mixed to divisive reactions and responses, because Dragon Ball is mainly 2D, it has a certain look, and yes, it maintains that look, but there's definitely different movements and camera tricks you can do with the animation now, but whether or not it's a one-off project, we'll just have to wait and see. But yes, Dragon Ball Super, the sequel to Dragon Ball Z, I thought it was all part of the same thing, but apparently not. Like 3 shows in, it's still ongoing, and this is like film number 21, so God knows, what do I know? Superhero, basically, from what I can understand, involves the Red Ribbon Gang, which is from the original Dragon Ball series, like very early on, I think only a few episodes, but essentially they're the antagonists, and they're trying to resurrect a person or a being named Cell. They're trying to resurrect Cell, who is, from what I understand, an ancient alien deity, kind of like the Time Lords, kind of like a doctor. I don't know. He travels in time and he does over the top shit. But he died many years ago. And one thing the film did do a lot, especially for newcomers like me, there was a load of archive flashback stuff that they incorporate to sort of tell and help tell you that, oh yes, this stuff happened many, many years ago, but it was relevant to this story. So it helped kind of understanding what exactly they're on about, who they were showing, and why this happened and stuff. Bear in mind from what little I can understand, because again, Japanese stuff is always over the top. Again, some of the lines, the humour was very funny and very laughable, but I don't know whether half of it is due to just dub translations, because of course it's a Japanese production, and of course with any sort of foreign thing you watch in translation, some lines, some wording might get lost in translation. So one thing, if I was to watch it in like original Japanese with subtitles, like the delivery, I imagine in some scenes would have been very different compared to how it was played in England, and it was very, did they just say what I think they said, but not in like an over the top offensive way, but it was more like, that sounds a bit ridiculous even for my head. But you have to honestly switch your brain off. It's a cartoon, but the action scenes, just the action. I don't know if it tops anything for those Dragon Ball nerds that watch this shit on a daily basis or have watched it all their lives. Because Dragon Ball has been going since 1986. 84 was the manga, and I think 86 is when it was first adapted. So it's been going for like well over 30 years, over 40 years, nearly 50. So for those that obviously know their ins and outs and their Kamehamehas and their Goku and Vegetas, I don't know where this exactly ranks on, if it's anything special, whether this is just a 24-minute episode expanded for like 90, 100 minutes. I don't know if this is anything special or anything, great to write home about. But for me, and with the moving chairs and with every dramatic camera turn and swerve and every minor eyebrow wink, you felt it. You really were in the movie.
Your best experience ever in a 4DX screen?
Well, over the top, like people will look at it and think, fucking hell, I'm paying 20, like, for those that don't have a limit, you're paying like 25 quid to literally get beaten up and bruised. And if you're like off a smaller height, well, I don't know what it's going to do to your head, because it was a lot of, you literally were bouncing out your chair. And I mean, there's been movies that have lived up to that, but Dragon Ball, from the first frame, just completely changed the experience. But then obviously due to recent news, I don't know whether it was just like lads, let's flick on the 4DX switch for the last time. Well, you know, not to be dramatic, but I don't know whether it was just a case of let's just go out with a bang, and they totally just elevated it for whatever reason. But if you just wanted to watch a Saturday morning cartoon and you did literally were nutty enough, or your kids wanted to be like, Mum, I want to be in a cartoon, but not obviously
Yeah.
die and get resurrected and God knows what else happens to your Saturday morning cartoons. Tom and Jerry is long gone these days, folks. Yeah, if you can see it in 4DX, it will change your life. Whether or not you can process what's going on, because there's too much stuff, especially for like a non-anime watcher like myself. You know, too much stuff is happening on screen to even comprehend what on earth was happening half the time. But the point is, me and my friend were both laughing. We had fun. We literally had smiles on the whole time. The third act was epic. It was over the top. Of course, it's just Saturday morning cartoon stuff. But it was a real, just an eye-opener for, I guess, the Japanese market. And I've had friends, and it feels like some of the other topics I like. It feels like a smaller, rare, niche topic. It's not like everyone I know is like, oh yeah, Connor, did you watch this today? Or like, oh, this anime. Like, it does feel very niche in my life, and it's anime's been a thing that I've always sort of wanted to kind of delve into, or at least give a proper look at. But due to just, you know, personal circumstances of people I know, like, no one would bat an eye and be like, oh god, why are you watching like Japanese cartoons? But regardless, whatever you think, however old you are, there's nothing wrong with a good cartoon, especially Japanese, because they go batshit crazy, and I hope to God that never changes. And it won't, because it's Japan. No diss at Japan. Japan, keep doing you. And, you know, Akira Tomioka, please do not end Dragon Ball, because I've had a half day at work, and all morning, I mean, I had to go out for other reasons, but I have watched 8 episodes since watching the film last night, and I'm on the beginning of a very slow journey to catching up to now, but I'm committed to do it.
Sounds like an interesting journey. You'll have to document it in some kind of
In some
form,
capacity.
possibly in a video audio medium,
Dragon Ball Super
just
Hero.
like this podcast. So go and see that. We'll talk about some of the stuff that I saw next week, because maybe Connor will have seen it, and maybe I'll have seen some of the other stuff that he's seen.
Yeah, right.
But
yeah.
as always, thank you very much for watching, listening, and absorbing Nerdball Podcast in whatever way you choose to, on whatever platform. It's mainly YouTube at the moment. But if you would like to get in contact with us throughout the week, you can get in touch at Pacey Tube across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But if you would like to send an electronic mail
to nerdbiblecontact@gmail.com.
And as always, it is a pleasure to be in your ear holes, and we will end on the caveat that possibly there is a rumour that Hyperion will appear in Loki Season 2,
Ooh.
played by none other than Henry Cavill.
Dun, 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 Superman himself, Man of Steel, Man of Hyperion. Ooh. Okay.
Does that work for you?
Man of Hyperion.
Let us know in the comments below, and get in contact with us throughout your time on this earth. And until the next time, goodbye.
Sayonara. Gotta catch them all.